e-cigarettes. They've been a huge success, taking the world by storm. But are they really a healthy choice? With every lungful, you're breathing in a mix of solvents, flavourings and other chemicals. Why take that risk? At Fagley's, we believe that the natural option is always best. The finest selection of leaves is expertly blended and air-cured for 8 weeks before being individually wrapped in an environmentally friendly, biodegradable paper to give you the perfect portion size. Cigarettes. Nature's choice.
Well, I do say it's nice to have introductions again, and this time from sponsors, which I think is quite nice.
Great to finally have some sponsors. We always welcome more, so if anyone else wants to get in touch and we can help you flog your fine products.
Well, at least they're actually introducing the content of the episode, which I think is pretty cool. Well,
yeah,
the helium guy was. I hope he's fixed his leak.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate, but onwards and upwards.
Exactly. So if you are tuning in, welcome. Episode 3 of Series or Season 2 of Culture Trumpet. With me, as always, is Mark. Mark is with me.
And Dan is with me.
Hello, I'm always here. Can't get rid. Grab yourself a brew, and let's dissect the week.
So, what has been going on?
Good start. What was the question before you choked?
What has been going on this week?
Well, we had the final series of Ricky Gervais's Afterlife on that there Netflix.
We did. All 6 episodes, I think it was, all dropped at once. Have you managed to see them all?
Yeah, I think I finished them by... I think I started it on Friday, and I finished them by Sunday. No, I didn't. Saturday afternoon, I think it was.
Okay.
Thoughts? Okay, maybe I'll ask you a question, because it might be easier.
Go on.
Was it a good enough ending for the story that we were set up with? Did it pay off enough for you?
Oh, I see. That is a good question.
Going deep this episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
He had kind of written himself into a corner to a degree in terms of the main character that he played and some of the others in the show. But in terms of there was never going to be any kind of miraculous about face from any of them, right? They weren't good. They weren't suddenly going to turn around and completely change their view of the world, right?
No, I agree, but I do think it was going to be a bit... It was obviously emotional, but I do think it was still going to be a kick-in-the-face ending. I was expecting that. It's sort of just... I know the message is life goes on, and I get that, but I was expecting more of a finality to it, maybe?
Yeah, it was a bit open-ended, wasn't it? Which I didn't mind.
I do think it was a very Ricky Gervais ending.
It was. Given that this is the first show he's ever done that's actually gone to 3 seasons...
Yeah,
he's always finished them after 2, and I think The Office was 2 and a Christmas special. Derek was 2 and a Christmas special. I don't know if there was a special of extras or whether that was just 2 seasons and done. So I think, yeah, he clearly had a few more things to say. I think he doesn't seem to be the sort of person who'll carry on with stuff just for the sake of it, right? He's happy to end it when it ends. So if he did go to season 3, he clearly had a few things left to say about it. But I think it ended well. I think character-wise, like I say, none of the characters did anything out of character.
Sure. I agree to that.
But there was enough in there that was like believable. You know, obviously his character, Tony's outlook on the world certainly softened.
Yes.
And became less kind of cynical and nihilistic, but not to an unbelievable degree.
No.
It wasn't like he was going around hugging people and
sure.
high-fiving them, if you know what I mean. But it just kind of Yeah, yeah. That's the best way I can say it.
The one thing that I did feel was spoilt for me was, obviously in the first series specifically, there was that scene of him being called a paedophile by that little ginger kid, and
Yeah.
and the delivery of swearing in this one I felt was quite oversaturated. So the punch of him calling somebody a "see you next Thursday," it was sort of lost on me a bit because it was sweary anyway. It's Ricky Gervais, but it lost its edge, I think.
Because that you'd already had the shock.
Yeah, and he used it so much in this series. Some of it was still fantastic. A personal favourite was, why did he jump the zebra crossing? Oh, that's right, because he's late to his full-time job of being a...
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that word on the podcast. But yes.
It was definitely kind of lost its impact, which, I mean, to be fair, I think there's probably a language thing there, right? Where there is a way Brits use swearing as almost punctuation. I just think it's less shocking anyway to a British audience.
Definitely, but in the way that it was delivered in the first two seasons, I think it was quite sparingly. I mean, I haven't watched them since they came out, but I remember being more shocked with the language, whereas this one, it was every couple of scenes he was dropping the word, and it lost its edge.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, okay. Overall, I thought it was fantastic. I have a lot of time for him. Not necessarily his film stuff, because that's always been a bit
let's
hit
not
and
go
miss,
there.
but certainly his TV stuff. I just think
I think he's
spot on.
a nice guy, and I read that there's Netflix as partnered, I suppose, with Ricky to do some good by delivering some benches to local parks, and they are basically benches for people to sit and listen, to talk to people.
Brilliant.
And I saw that today, and amazingly, where I'm from, 2 local parks are benefiting, which I think is wicked.
That's really good.
Isn't it?
That's fantastic.
Honestly,
actually,
have a look to see if there's one near you.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and you can tell, from his stuff on Twitter and online, he's a huge kind of animal rights activist, and all that, So he's clearly kind of, there's things he is passionate about, and I think he is like many stand-up comedians or many kind of performers, where there's Ricky Gervais, and then there is the character of Ricky
certainly.
Gervais. Right, so you've got the character of Ricky Gervais is the guy who hosts the Golden Globes, right? Who just is out to offend everyone, and then there is the real Ricky Gervais, who is just a
caring, down to earth guy,
and just the funny guy and all that.
He says how much money he has, and I can't take it with me, and I think he's big philanthropist. He's done it millions over the years for charities, but
yeah.
I don't want to brown nose the man too much, but I think he's love him or loathe him, he does some very good stuff for the world.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is you get the feeling that when he says stuff, he really means it. He has got that very kind of down to earth. For all, his stuff on the Golden Globes is exaggerated. When he says he doesn't give a shit, you can kind of tell he doesn't give a shit. He just wants to make what he wants to make. He
bit
wants
like
to make
us.
his shows.
That's why we're here still.
But he wants to make his shows, make people laugh, maybe make people think, and then move on to do the next thing. And if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't.
What else?
Okay, so as we are recording, just dropped today's the Moon Knight trailer for the next MCU show that's going to be on Disney Plus at the end of March. That looks interesting. I mean, I've got no knowledge of the comic books. I don't know.
I knew nothing about it. I knew Oscar Isaacs and Ethan Hawke was in it. One thing that did take me by surprise was Oscar Isaacs' accent.
Which is an interesting choice. I think he's gone to the Dick Van Dyke accent school.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It actually wasn't. It actually wasn't too bad.
That kind of nervous Englishman.
Yeah,
I don't know what the difference between my dreams are anymore, Mary Poppins.
I think, is it something like, that's not his real name, right? I think the real person who becomes Moon Knight, I think he's called Mark Spector.
Which is what I think is alluded to in the trailer. He picks up the phone, they say, God, Mark. He's like,
that's right.
Why are you calling me Mark?
So I think, is this Stephen, like, he's kind of got lost his memory. He doesn't know who
Yeah,
he is.
it's going to be a mind buggerer. I think it looks
So
really good.
it does. I mean, it looks it looks a bit more actiony, a bit more dark.
Well, it was rumored to be slightly more grown up, and graphics may be the wrong word, but a bit more hard hitting, like the Netflix MCU stuff. But they haven't said.
No, they haven't. But I was going to say it kind of had more of a Daredevil vibe than maybe any of the others that have been on Disney Plus so far.
I can't wait. Not long.
No, I'm interested in that one. I'm interested purely because it's a brand new character. It's not like WandaVision or Falcon or Loki or anything like that, where it's characters we've seen before.
Do you know, I didn't think of that. It's a brand new one, of course, because we've had Hawkeye as well. So
I've got Hawkeye, and then all the different what if versions.
Because there's She-Hulk as well, which is obviously new.
That's a new one, but
Ironheart.
Ironheart. There's Armor Wars.
That's gonna be Rhodey though, isn't it?
It will be.
But yeah, he's the first sort of brand spanking new character to come to a TV show.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to kind of see how that pans out. Go on. I think you were talking the other day about
I knew this was going.
Go on, some music that you quite liked.
I don't know. A little band from Teignmouth in Devon released a new single. You may have heard of them, Muse. For those who
yes.
For those who remembered the old Culture Trumpet website where we tried doing articles, I wrote a bit of a fanboy love letter to the band, and they are my favourite band hands down. But they have released their comeback single, I suppose. It's their first single released since the Simulation Theory album a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It's called Won't Stand Down, and it's bloody heavy.
Okay.
It as a musician myself, it's not in drop B, but it's got a low B string, which if you're into your metal, you'll know that's Machine Head, that's your Slipknot. It's really freaking low tuning.
I was just about to say that, but I thought I'd let you.
Thank you very much. So it's been produced by Muse themselves. So that's both all three of them, Matt, Chris, and Dom. But it's also been co-produced by a chap called Alex von Korff, who did work with them on Simulation Theory. But there's no news on the 9th album, which is presumably going to sit on.
Okay.
But I was a very excited man last week when it dropped. So excited.
I've not heard it yet, but I'll give it a listen. And certainly, if there's an album on the way, I'm interested in hearing that.
Please listen to it on some good speakers.
Okay.
That's all I'll ask.
I will. So I think the other one, which is potentially could get all a bit soapboxy and preachy, but let's try not. There's been some talk. I don't want to get into the political side of it because that's clearly it's just being used as a.
That's not for us to really talk about. We're not that kind of thing.
No. I don't want to get into the political side because it's clearly being used as a distraction tactic from some of the frankly more important things that are going on right now. But once again, there have been threats that the BBC is going to have the licence fee removed.
Because what's the actual announcement is it's been frozen at £159 for 2 years, isn't it?
That's right.
Okay,
but by the end of the decade, the current government, if they are still in power, their intention is to scrap it all completely, I believe, by the end of the decade.
Right, okay.
And it's always something that they come up and complain about, usually when they are getting unfavourable coverage in the press. And then you get, obviously, the swivel-eyed gammons kind of come on, going, oh, woke BBC, lefty bias, blah, 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 good riddance, blah, 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 not good value. So I guess from my point of view, I think there's a couple of things. One, I think it's fair to say that the BBC have always been accused of it. Well, let's do first things first. Let's separate the BBC from BBC News, because this is a reaction more than anything from the government and from other people to they dislike the way that BBC News reports the news, right? Because they say, well, this is the thing. You'll get people on the left who say, they supported Brexit, that they aren't reporting on enough on what's going on right now in the government because they support the government or they're scared of the government or the government's arse, right? And you get people on the right at the same time saying that it's all a bunch of Ramona nonsense and it's lefties and Marxists and whatever, right? Any organisation that can piss off two opposite groups of people at the same time clearly must be doing something right.
Right, okay.
Right? Because both groups are finding things to get pissed off about. To me, that suggests they're actually fairly balanced. Right?
Okay, I see.
So that's one thing. I think in general, I think the BBC are just pro-government, whoever that government happens to be. Because, not pro-government, but let's say they are happy to be relatively uncritical of whichever government happens to be in power.
Okay.
Because ultimately, they rely on the government to ensure that the licence fee continues as a thing for funding, right?
Mm.
And whichever flavour government is in power, if they piss that government off, that government's going to look at what we can do to get them back in line. That's the political element of it. So I guess, I don't know if you have anything to add on that element, but
I'll just miss Line of Duty. That's all I'll say.
Well, this is what then I think is maybe the thing that people who are complaining from that corner or that reason, and they're complaining about, oh, scrap the licence fee, blah, blah, blah. I think they just think there's nothing on BBC One that I like, or BBC Two's all a load of lefty bollocks, or the news is rubbish. Therefore, scrap the licence fee, right? Without, I think, realising everything else that they do, right? You're not paying 150 odd quid or whatever it is for one channel that might have a few programmes that you watch, right? You're paying for how many TV? There's BBC 1, 2, 3 and 4. There's God knows how many radio stations. There's like the 4 main radio stations plus the digital stations.
Well, BBC Sounds is what they're peddling now, which is the digital collection.
Yeah, so there's all of that.
2 children's programmes.
You've got 2 ad-free children's channels.
That's it.
Right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of Cartoon Networks. There's some really funny shows on there, right? With jokes that go far over kids' heads, right? Shout out for The Amazing World of Gumball.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But the adverts are relentless. Toys and fucking shite, right? And you stick on children's BBC or CBeebies, and there's quality, well-made programmes.
Engaging as well.
Engaging.
I don't have kids, but from people who I know who have kids, it's quite educational, which is a shame. Brilliant.
And again, so there's a show on CBeebies which is like for the little kids called Hey Dougie, and it's a cartoon.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
Right, and it's like about a little kind of scout group of animals, right? And there's an episode of that that's basically Apocalypse Now. Right, it's a lift up. It's a takeoff of Apocalypse Now, and there's shots taken from it, and you know what I mean. It's like there's again they fit in so many cool references and stuff, and then you got a children's BBC, CBBC, which is obviously like the kind of early teens upwards, and they've got science programs. They've got dramas on there, original dramas, not these rubbish American ones. And it's good quality stuff. And during the first lockdown, the BBC launched the biggest educational program in their history.
Yep, I remember that.
Of curriculum-based programs, and they pulled it out their arse.
It came to fruition within a week or so, didn't it?
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They had programs on there. They had the presenters who normally jump around doing the bits in between programs, presenting programs and side by side with scientists and doctors and mathematicians. You know what I mean? As they had people in the studios.
Yeah, but Mark, you're forgetting. I don't watch that. I'm not paying.
No, but I'm sorry. But as an example, right? When all you're complaining about, or not you, but when all people are complaining about is they're not going to watch Strictly Come Dancing anymore because now there's 2 blokes dancing together and it's all work and all this, right? It's not just about that. There's all this other stuff. They do, obviously, the news. They do regional news. They do regional radio. They do training for journalists around the country. They do like citizen journalism. If you look on the BBC News website now, a lot of the content, a lot of the video content is like locally produced. Not, not like semi-professional,
No, anything's better than Metro or Vice.
Well, yeah, exactly right. So you look on BBC 4, and they've got, obviously on things like iPlayer, right? They've got I know like news shows might only be on there for a month, right?
But like you said, the archived stuff is incredible.
Stuff going back years, documentaries at Arena, Panorama, Horizon, science, the arts, tons of stuff going back decades. They've got films, BBC films, you're not, that 150 quid isn't just paying for the news channel or BBC One or the programs that you as a viewer like. They're paying for stuff for everybody, and the risk is, if they lose the license fee and have to rely on adverts and product placement, right,
it will ruin
and sponsors
things.
Well, it will, because they're going to be reliant on viewers. Because at the minute now, right, they're in a lucky position, and perhaps they're kind of complacent, where they're guaranteed the money, right? Whatever happens, they're guaranteed an amount of money that comes in. And so they can afford to make programs that don't get many viewers.
Okay.
Right? Whether it's some crappy little web show on BBC Three, or whether it's a really niche documentary about the history of colours on BBC Four, right? They can afford to do that. If that documentary about the history of colours probably had about a dozen people and a dog watching it, right?
Dogs can't see colour, so that's pointless.
Precisely, right? If that was reliant on advertising revenue, it would have never been made.
No, I agree.
So I think when people complain about the license fee, they're doing it from a very selfish perspective. And I think you need to look at the BBC like you look at the NHS. It's everyone chips in, and it's for the benefit of everybody. It's not just about what you get out of it. It's for the greater good.
The greater good.
Do you know what I mean? I feel really passionately about it.
Okay, it's time to move on then.
Oh, all right.
Sorry. I didn't think this was going to last 5 minutes, so I indulged it.
I rambled, but
right.
What thoughts do you have? And then we can move on.
I like Line of Duty, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh.
I'm not going to discuss my politics on the internet.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Personally, I've always felt I haven't necessarily had a problem with paying a license fee until the bill comes up and I go, how much? Just because it comes at a time when you start paying your license fee when you move into a new property, so there's insurances and stuff that come around at the time. And I think, bloody hell, another 159 quid. All right.
Yeah.
But that's the way it's always been. And to be quite honest, I'm saying this as it's not a joke. A member of my family did get fined by not having a colour TV licence. They were still paying a black and white one, and completely innocently, an older member of my family, but legitimately did get fined. So I don't know if that's because I've now gone, that it could happen, but no, they can't come into your house. But then again, I also don't want to be in that position to go, you can't, and they go, yeah, we bloody well can.
Well, they can't. I mean,
sure, but I can't be asked being put in that position. But
sure.
I've paid whatever, I like Line of Duty. Moving on.
I just think if the license fee goes, the BBC will change beyond all recognition, and you'll miss it.
And moving on.
So.
And we're moving on. Listener emails.
We've had emails, right then? Yes, we have. So, shall I go first?
You do the first one. We've had two.
We've had two, right? The first one is from Tristan Finknottle, and he writes, "Hi guys, big fan of the podcast. Thank you very much. I'd like to know, given the inherent duality and indeed the constant conflict-ridden and dichotomous nature of the film industry, vis-a-vis the requirement to balance artistic integrity with the unavoidable need for profit within the capitalist system, what's your favourite Fast and Furious film?"
I've not seen any of them, thank you, Tristan.
Oh, okay. I would say it's a tie between 5 and 6. So
do they have names attached to them, or were they just 5 and 6?
Fast 5 and Furious 6.
Okay.
So thanks for that, Tristan. So, we're getting in there, answering those difficult questions. So
Brilliant.
I think we've had another. What's the second one?
So this is from a chap called Barry Spanner from Sussex. Thank you. Hi, Barry. Thanks for writing in. Says, hey, Culture Trumpet. I have to say, I was excited to see that this podcast was taking off. Again, thank you very much. That means a lot. Really appreciate it.
It's really good, really good.
He goes on to say, I listen in every week to hear you two talk about the week, and it brought a smile to my face for the first 2 hours. Okay. I feel like this is taking a turn.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll carry on. Then I realised you never actually talk about trumpets. Right. What a waste of 7 hours. I can't believe you bring trumpet into the title and they are never the subject matter. You've lost a listener. Yours faithfully, Barry Spanner. First chair trumpet, Sussex Symphony Orchestra.
So perhaps maybe a little bit of extra clarity needed in our...
I can see why they'd be annoyed.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Barry.
Okay. Sorry, Barry.
Good luck for the gigs that may be rebooked this year. Congrats. First chair.
Yes.
It's an achievement.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah.
What is your favourite trumpet? Let us know.
Right. Let's move swiftly on to the quiz.
Quizzy
Quizzy
rascal.
Oh, very good. Very quizzy rascal. I like that one.
I don't know if I used that last week, but it's usually a go-to quiz title, a quiz name for me.
It's Dan versus Mark. It's Dan versus Mark.
Right, same format as last week. Some trivia, and I've even cited my source for one of them this week, so Mark can't chase it. So movie trivia, 5 questions, 5 points. I'll go first. In what year was the first Academy Awards held?
I know it's over 80 years old. I am gonna go with... Was it in the 30s?
I can't really give you that. I'm giving you... I'll give you a couple of years either side.
1938.
Oh, you're 10 or 9 or... No, hang on. How many years? You're years out.
Oh.
1929.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I did say it was more than 8 years old.
Yeah, fair play.
Okay, my turn. What was Alan Rickman's first film?
Ooh. I mean, I don't know. I don't know is the answer. So I'll go with Die Hard.
Correct.
Wow. What a guess.
There we go.
I knew he was young in it, but I did think he was acting prior to that in movies.
He might have done I think he'd done TV in the UK, but that was his first film.
Wow. Fair play. I mean, sorry, to tangent a bit, that's testament to how good an actor he actually was. Whether you liked Die Hard or not, his portrayal of that mean bastard is still one of the best movie villains ever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like set the template.
Yeah,
really set the template.
Yeah,
didn't it?
Of course. Anyway, sorry. Right, that's my go anyway.
Yeah.
How many films did Alfred Hitchcock direct according to IMDb?
Oh, God, I hate this one. You did this with Spielberg.
You did so well with that one.
22.
Gave up after the 80s.
22.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is the number that when you go on IMDb it says director.
Yeah, 22. It's a guess, I don't know.
69.
There you go. Hey!
I couldn't believe it when I wrote that earlier. 69. Nice. Anyway, smut.
Okay. Who was first offered the role of John Mclean in Die Hard, and why?
Please don't tell me all of these are relating to Die Hard, Mark. Please.
Can we just deal with one question at a time?
What year was Die Hard released? 1988?
Yeah.
Who was given it and why?
Who was offered it?
Who was offered it?
Obviously, they turned it down.
Bruce Willis. No. I don't know. Mel Gibson.
No.
I haven't got a clue, mate.
Frank Sinatra.
Why?
Well, that was the second part of the question.
That's why I'm asking.
Can you think why?
It was going to be a musical?
No. It's based on a book, right?
Right.
Die Hard. And the book is a sequel to another book called The Detective, which Frank Sinatra starred in the film adaptation of that.
Right, okay.
So because it was a sequel, contractually, he had to be offered the role first.
Right.
But given that he was 70 years old at the time,
I'd have loved to have seen that.
he quite wisely turned it down.
Hey, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Frank Sinatra
Bada
sounded.
bing, bada boom. Ya mook. and so he quite wisely turned it down.
Yeah.
And it was then rewritten and tweaked not to be a sequel, basically.
Right.
Okay, y'all go.
I can't really follow that one up. Hey, anyway, he's not the Fonz. Which actor is also known as Eric Marlon Bishop?
Is it an actor currently working?
Oh yeah, he's he. Oh yeah, with a name like Eric, I'm glad you got it. I would have hoped you've assumed it was male, but we don't assume genders here on the Culture Trumpet podcast.
Of course.
But yes, an actor is working, has had a release this year.
Oh, 2022 this year.
Correctamundo. Oh, actually, no, good point. 2021. End of 2021.
I'm going to need a clue.
Okay. He's American.
Right.
Do you want another one?
Yeah, because that doesn't really narrow it down
No,
at all.
fair enough. Let's try and think of a clue, because definitely didn't write these.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, actually.
Really?
Where'd you get that from?
You just said it had a release last year, at the end of the year, which, like, Spider-Man was about the only thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So.
you're right, Jamie Foxx. I was going to say he's in Tarantino, but you might have gone Sammy
right,
Leroy.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I did not know that wasn't his name. There we go.
It is now.
Who became the first woman to win a Best Director Oscar?
Best director. Well, again, I don't want to think everything's about Die Hard, and I wouldn't know her name if she didn't direct. I don't think a lady directed. Chloe Zhao for Eternals. No, Nomadland.
No, it was Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker.
Oh, okay. I'm glad they're not all about Die Hard. Just the first two.
What on earth makes you think they'd be all about Die Hard?
It's you.
Anyway.
Right.
Your turn.
For The Hurt Locker. That's a good film.
Mm.
What item is in every Fight Club scene?
A Starbucks cup.
Correct.
What was James Cameron's first film?
Ooh. Are we talking feature length?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm going to do a U. Let's go back. I can't remember when The Abyss was, but I know that was 80s, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I'm not a big Cameron aficionado.
You're making excuses.
That's what you do. It works for you. I've got a book about this somewhere. I don't know. I mean, I can't remember what came first either, Abyss or Aliens. So, Abyss.
I mean, Aliens came before The Abyss.
Okay.
The Terminator came before Aliens.
Hang on. Hang on. Who am I getting confused with?
I've no idea.
Did Jim Cameron do both T1 and T2?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm thinking of Ridley Scott and Jim Cameron sharing Alien.
Right, okay.
Oh.
No, Terminator came before Aliens.
That I didn't know.
But before the Terminator, there was Piranha 2.
Okay, moving on. He went from Piranha 2 to The Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah.
Fair
not
play.
Bad. Not a bad go.
Yeah, fair play to him. He'll do well.
He's all right. But if he keeps plugging away, he'll have a hit
He'll
soon,
get
I'm
there.
sure.
He'll get there.
Yeah.
Avatar 29.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's meant to be this year. I'll believe it when I see it. Anyway.
Yeah.
You know that film that was really famous 12 years ago? Well,
Yeah, everyone's
that
gagging
sequel.
for a sequel. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
What's better than one sequel to Avatar? 5.
Every year.
Every year.
He's turned into like X Factor, innit? We have the Christmas #1 for 5 or 6 years in a row,
Yeah,
on the Christmas
Christ.
#1 film.
3 sequels. We don't need 3
Give your head a
sequels.
wobble, Cameron.
Yeah.
You did all right, but wind your neck in. Right, final
Yeah.
question.
Final one, go on.
Related, in fact, to Mr. James
Oh,
Cameron. And a question you raised earlier. Which actress turns down the role of Rose in Titanic?
Oh, so was it? I'm just trying to think of similar ages at the time. Was it someone like? Oh, I don't know. Nicole Kidman.
I mean, good guess. Good guess. Wrong, but good guess.
Was it? Let me have one more guess. Actually, I don't know. Go on.
Okay.
No, go on.
It was Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, age-wise, that works.
That works,
yeah.
doesn't
Okay.
it? Doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Which colour pill does Neo take in the Matrix?
Oh, shut up. So just put my Wookiee to sleep. You can tell I've only seen this twice. I definitely haven't seen the new one. The blue pill. It's 50-50.
The red.
Oh, fuck off.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
You got two.
Okay. How many did you get?
I'm not counting me.
Oh, you got one.
Oh well, yeah.
Yay,
yeah.
Victory. A resounding victory for me.
There's just too much to choose from, really, isn't there? Movie
There
trivia?
is, to be honest. There is. Okay, so last episode we did a deep dive on Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we kind of got into some spoiler details and what we thought. So we're doing the same again this week, not with Ghostbusters Afterlife,
and hopefully not in too much detail with 20 minutes running to an hour kind of thing.
Yeah. We'll try and keep it brief, but I think it's worth chatting now that it is available to anyone who wants to watch it on Disney Plus. We're going to have a chat about The Eternals.
It's time for topic or topics of the week.
Indeed. So,
What did you think of it?
Well, first off, a bit of background. I think it's a good idea to, introduce listeners to Eternals.
Go for it.
So the Marvel Studios spiel is Marvel Studios' Eternals features an exciting new team of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ancient aliens who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, an unexpected tragedy forces them out of the shadows to reunite against mankind's most ancient enemy, the Deviants.
That's a fair description. There you go. Nice and vague, not too spoilery. I would take issue.
Sorry, spoiler alert for anyone who didn't get the idea that we're going to spoil we're going to spoil things in a minute.
We are.
Sorry, Mark. Continue.
That's all right. No, that spoiler warning indeed. But I think from that synopsis, the kind of only thing I kind of take issue with is the word exciting, because Jesus, this was dull.
Yeah.
I really wanted to like this film. The trailers looked good. It was interesting that it was Chloe Zhao. It was clearly totally different kind of filmmaker.
Well, one that I think she's the only MCU director to have won an Oscar.
I believe so.
So she was Oscar.
Doesn't Kenneth Branagh's won Oscars, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, but he did direct Thor.
He did.
Wait, did he win an Oscar before Thor?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, okay,
But anyway,
I redact my previous statement.
Certainly, in terms of, let's say, critical acclaim.
Yeah, so she's up there.
Nomadland?
Yeah, famous.
Nomadland, yeah. So she's definitely up there, in terms of critical acclaim. And yeah,
first of all, I wanted to enjoy this. To not necessarily, I would never jump on the bandwagon of hating it for the content that is in the film, which we'll come on to. I wanted to enjoy it, to not agree with those people, because one, I am not in that bucket, and two, I never wanted to almost be associated with potentially being in that bucket just because I didn't enjoy Eternals. Breath. But
no, when it came out, there was a lot of review bombing around quote-unquote wokeness and all this. Well, we've been there before, right? We've talked about all this shit before. So there was a lot of the reviews are saying, oh, it's too woke, they've failed, that's the MCU ruined, etc., etc. That side of it, I thought, actually, those elements I thought were really well done.
I felt it worked for the story.
they worked, right, and they weren't out of place. They weren't kind of in your face. They just worked as character elements and story elements. They all worked. The film, that's not the problem with the film, right?
Well,
Two guys kissing is not the problem with the film.
Narrow it down more. For me, I didn't think the CG was Marvel standard, and what I mean by that is everything's obviously super colourful, and you know when they're using CG in most Marvel films. But this I found was super, super, super cartoony. And there's one thing, again, freaking contradictions, man. There was, when they're flying about in space, flying around on Earth through the air, yeah, it looks really cartoony. But one thing I did notice is there's quite a lot of physical costumes used still. Whereas if you look at the likes of Spider-Man and Endgame and whatnot, they're all CG'd and
CG, yeah.
But I felt mostly for me, I thought the CG was horrendous. And I mean, I watched it on Disney Plus. I haven't watched my 4K copy of it yet on disc, but for me, I found it incredibly milky on Disney Plus. The
kind of lacking in kind of oomph, the image.
Yeah, the darks were really milky, and I ended up turning all the lights off to watch it so I could actually bloody see.
Yeah.
And I guarantee it's not my television.
No, indeed. I actually noticed that as well. Funny you mentioned that. I thought, it doesn't have that kind of pizzazz that you would expect it to have. Like, with the costumes, as you say, like the colours in the costumes and all that, kind of the gold inlays and all that. With HDR on this, you'd expect it to pop a little bit more.
I thought that popped. I
Okay.
disagree there. I thought that popped, but I found it was quite when the film was dark, there was no definition.
Okay.
It was really milky. I can't really describe it other than it just seemed like a bad. It seemed like you torrented it and it was a bad torrent.
Right. I'll be interested to check it with the disc when that's released. Then, to be fair,
I thought that was out, but why am I being really thick? Oh, it's because Halloween Kills turned up instead of the weekend.
Yes, that's a couple of weeks away, but it'll be interesting to see how it compares.
Yeah, definitely. I've already even said I'm gonna watch this again.
Yeah. My problem with it, I kind of agree. Yeah, in terms of the visuals, it was a little bit lacking. My problem with it was just it was plodding. Right, I don't mind a slow film. Right, I don't mind a film that takes time to tell its story and isn't in a particular rush and all that. But it felt aimless. There was no kind of oomph, get up and go to it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think it was trying to think of you might have a film in the MCU that has done this as well, but what it's setting up is this new Earth's Mightiest Heroes idea. These superheroes that have been around for thousands of years, helped Earth become a civilization, and can just do anything they bloody well want, really.
Yeah.
It's setting up these characters to return to a bigger picture.
Yeah, and I think what it does do well is that it introduces a bunch of new characters all at once. Because at least with the Avengers, there was an element of most of them had their own film first.
Sure.
Where you introduce each of them in their own environment and you get to know them all first over a couple of hours, and then you bring them together. And this was the opposite way around. So yeah, you've got 6 or 7, however many they are, all at once, and there's a mix of like modern day mixed in with flashbacks, etc., etc. So it has a lot to do in terms of the story it's telling and all of these different characters and the history of them. So fair play. There's a lot of ground it has to cover. But I just felt it just felt like it was just, I don't know, dull. I think, there is a thing at the end where it says the Eternals will return. Good. I'm glad. And I hope that when they do, it's either whether it's going to be a sequel or whether I think it's more likely they'll appear in some of the other films first. I want them to be used better
Yeah,
in
I
those other
think that's
films.
fair to say. I felt there was some really clunky elements to the story. Like, I mean, well, to let's say before we come into like the casting of it, like there's Thena's character, not Athena. Thena's character
Athena.
has this memory issue.
Yeah.
And that is sort of going on to explain, but it didn't matter that she had this memory issue towards the end, and it was built to be this big, dangerous thing to them as a team. And it just fizzled. It didn't go anywhere. And I just thought it was just stupid. I thought the comedy elements worked really well.
There wasn't much of it, but what there was did work well.
See, I picked up on that mainly because the rest of it was so dull. But
Any port in a storm, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the sequences, like the forest sequence, I thought was pretty cool with the Deviants. That was pretty cool. But again, they didn't really go on to explain the Deviant that sort of became... the Deviants evolved, don't they, and become more. And the one that sort of had a bit more of a human form at the end, it just sort of... that fizzled out.
Yeah. I think... I don't know. I think...
Let's talk about cast then, right?
Go on, yeah. I thought the cast was great,
so,
to be honest.
It's starring Angelina Jolie, who has turned down superhero films in the past. Gemma Chan, who is one of the growing list of MCU actors and actresses who have already been in the MCU. She was in Captain Marvel. Richard Madden. Kumail Nanjiani. Lauren Ridloff, who was new to me. Brian Tyree Henry, again new to me, but Salma Hayek. Liam McHugh, new to me. Don Lee, new to me, and Kit Harrington of Game of Thrones fame. Some big hard hitters there in Hollywood.
And as I said, a lot of characters to introduce in one go.
Yeah.
And on the whole, I think they all got their fair share of screen time. You missed out Barry Keoghan as well. I think on the whole, they all got a good amount of screen time and to introduce their respective characters. And the performances are all fine. No problem with that. And I think actually, one of the more interesting ones was Barry Keoghan's character, who had this kind of an element of, the power going to his head a little bit and kind of not wanting to be quite so much a passive observer of things. I think his character a little bit more interesting in that I thought the characterization was fine.
He created a cult.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And I think the performances were all good. I just was bored.
Yeah, and
I was just, and I think that's the worst thing a film can be.
What, boring?
Boring.
Well, yeah,
I think because
something's got to try and captivate you for 2.5 hours these days, and it's boring.
If a film is bad, right? If you come out of watching a film and you think, Jesus, that was awful, right? You can laugh about how bad it was, or you can get angry about how bad it was, right?
Yeah.
You can rant and rave about how bad it was. But when you get to the end of a 2.5 hour film and you're just thinking, oh.
You've got nothing to sort of take away from it other than what a waste of time.
Yeah.
So, in the Eternals' defense, I was about to say it's just come off the back of No Way Home, but it hasn't, has it? It came out first. I can't even use that as a defense. That's worked out nicely, hasn't it?
Brilliant.
I mean, I saw No Way Home before Eternals. And I did take the stance, do you know what? That doesn't look like it's my cup of tea. I'll wait for it to come out on disc or, like I say, Disney Plus. And Disney Plus came first before disc. And am I glad I've seen it? Sure, because it's going to come up now in the future, like everything that's coming out now with Marvel.
Of course.
But But we are spoilt with quality of Marvel these days. But, I count on one hand maybe in the last 6 years the Marvel films that I've not enjoyed. And Marvel content that I've not enjoyed.
Yeah.
Falcon straight away, Eternals. I've got to think really hard to think of something else I didn't really enjoy.
I would think I would put this at the very bottom of the list of in order of all the MCU stuff. I think this would go at the bottom. I think it's not. I mean, Thor: The Dark World regularly gets kind of pitched as the worst MCU film. But that at least has a story that keeps going, and there's good banter between Loki and Thor, and obviously it sets more things up for the Infinity Saga.
I'm just trying to find a source of what has ranked it. Right, tomato meter. Fine, we'll go with this. Found a credible source, everyone.
Oh yeah, go on.
So they have Eternals down at the worst, so 27th in the list, with tomato meter of 48%. But to be fair, we know why it's down there because of the Gammons wanting to review bomb it for the wrong reasons. One thing that I, again, disagree with, I mean, I've absolutely got on record and say I disagree with the reason why it's being review bombed, but something that I would review it poorly for was the really out of place sex scene.
Yeah.
Jesus! They literally just went from and then they were naked on sand. We got the picture, right? They were getting married in the next scene.
I've no problems with that, but it just was really out of place,
wasn't it? But there we are. It made history. Yeah. So number 26 then is Thor: The Dark World, and that I wholeheartedly agree with. Let's scroll down a bit. 24, Iron Man 2, Get Out. They've got Black Widow at number 20. Oh, Captain Marvel's low again, but again, we're not going to go into why the Gammons hated it.
I just...
yeah. But sorry, to actually conclude my point, from number 18 onward, so number 18 is Captain America the First Avenger, that has a tomato rating of 80%.
Right.
So think how many, it's 10 films there then onward that are 80% and higher, so that just proves my point of we're spoiled with how good it
this is the thing. It's like nearly 30 films in, plus TV projects. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some duff ones along the way, right? And I think there are many problems with the film. I think having a scene with two blokes kissing is really not the problem with the film. Do you know what I mean? I think there's far more.
I agree with you completely. People need to get a friggin' life because the content put into that film is real life, whether you like it or not. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Again, not to be preachy or anything, but the fact that this character who had a family, a same-sex relationship, this eternal being had been around on the earth for thousands of years. I'm not surprised, let's face it, let's put it that way, that he'd found what he loved. Like, what's wrong with that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, quite right. And
Andy had a kid, get annoyed at that.
Yeah, and obviously he knows that is, for the span of his lifetime, that's going to be a very brief blip, and then in 100 years or time or so, he'll find someone else and continue. That's fine. Didn't bother me. I think that was, the kind of implications of that, and like what it must be like to live forever and have relationships in that with that hanging over you. I think that's an interesting thing to explore. And obviously, when you've been around on Earth for thousands of years, you'll try a bit of everything, right?
Did Loki get that amount of flack when his character, or the character of Loki, was essentially bisexual?
No, that was like praised and
weird, isn't it?
Groundbreaking.
Weird.
Exactly.
And he kissed himself. How weird is that?
No, I mean, fuck. So, but I think this is it. It's like people took against it, but for the wrong reasons. Right?
That's my bottom line on this. It was a bad film, but not for the reasons that the majority were giving it shit reviews for.
No, exactly.
Just a bad film.
Yeah.
Sorry, like
no, and it's a shame. It's a shame. I'm certainly interested in seeing the characters again.
They'll learn. I say learn from mistakes. Unfortunately, I think they'll pander to the masses that gave them the bad reviews, but and for the reasons why they got bad reviews in that instance. But I
don't know that I don't know that they will. I think they'll stick the ground in terms of the kind of character arcs and things.
Okay, well, so talking of returning then, before we draw it sort of somewhat of a coherent close. So Kit Harrington was billed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel quite highly when I remember seeing the promotional material come out. I may be wrong. It was a long time ago.
He was, yeah.
Not in it much, is he?
He's not, no. But again, I think this is one of those ones where it's setting up his character.
Well, in the last act, and probably the last 20 minutes of the movie, he reunites with his girlfriend, who's played by Gemma Chan, who's obviously an Eternal. She comes out and says, that she's what she is, blah blah blah. And he says, my family history is kind of complicated. And I looked at my other half and went, who the hell is he playing? And it's only in the after credits scene do you see that he. I thought it was Excalibur, but it isn't, because that's what they have on the Eternal ship. Right. But he has this sword.
Yeah. So he's a character called Black Knight.
Right. Well, there's also a voice off screen that says, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" I think.
That's Blade.
And that is Blade.
So that's Mahershala Ali.
And is that a movie, or is that going to be a series?
That's going to be a film.
Awesome.
I believe they're due to start filming that next year.
It better be 15 or whatever it is in the UK versus America, because I know a lot of the fans will want the bloodthirst that was the original Blades, which I still haven't seen. I was a bit too young when that came out.
Okay.
And my older friends were, again, too young to watch it.
Yeah.
But like, for them, that was the first. This is Blood and Guts. They saw.
Yeah. Oh no, the first two are great. And the second Blade film is directed by Guillermo del Toro as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
I know.
brilliant.
I'd give Trinity a wide berth because he insists. It got to his head, didn't it?
Very much so. But the second one's fantastic. The second one is brilliant. I think with Black Knight, they're clearly setting his character up there. I think I'm not familiar with the character in the comic books, but I believe there are links. I believe there's links with Captain Britain.
That'd be cool.
Who's been rumoured for a while to be kind of on the plans for the MCU. So that might be a good way to kind of link in with Captain Britain a bit further down the line. I think he has links in the comics with Doctor Strange as well. So I think there's plenty to do with him as a character, and clearly it was just to introduce him and so on.
And tease Blade.
And obviously, yes, there must be a connection with Blade, because you don't see him, but you hear him. He's clearly in the same room, talking to him at the end.
I did have to Google it, mind.
Yes, yeah. And also we get to see Thanos' brother.
Oh, don't. I'd forgotten about that.
Played by Harry Styles. Squeak!
Hello, you could call me Star Fox. Woo! And who's the little goblin thing? Patton Oswalt.
Oh, was that Patton Oswalt? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. That'll be interesting. I mean, I've only seen Harry Styles in Dunkirk.
This is the thing.
And in that, to be fair, he's good.
I'm not a One Directioner, as you could probably tell me banging on about Muse and Slipknot every week. But I knew he was going to be an Eros' character name, and it bothered me when I heard that he was cast. But at the end of the day, he's not prancing around singing What Makes You Beautiful.
No.
He's playing a character, and I'm curious to see where. I mean, Star Fox is a hilarious name, but
yes. Well, I was going to say, I think for all that it's Thanos' brother, it seems that there seems to be a bit more of a comedy element, a bit more light-hearted element to that character. There's a bit of slapstick, isn't there, in the kind of his introduction.
So yeah, we'll see where that goes. It wasn't good, but again, my bottom line, because it's on the internet, I didn't think it was crap because of what everyone else thought.
Yeah.
It's just boring. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marvel.
It was just disappointing more than anything.
Yeah, let down.
It wasn't bad enough to get angry about.
It was, just not for those reasons.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's Eternals. There we go.
Well, okay, so I feel we need to have some sort of rating. Tomato meters. How many trumpets do you give it?
How
many trumps?
I'd give it a soggy wet fart.
So like a one.
Like a...
Like our theme. So I'm hopefully Barry Spanner from the Sussex Symphony Orchestra will be happy that we have incorporated
yeah.
trumpets now into our reviews.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll name it after him, right? We'll have our Spannerometer in honour of Barry Spanner.
It still doesn't mention trumpets, though.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Also, if there is a real Barry Spanner at the who plays first chair for the Sussex Symphony Orchestra, which I googled, and that does exist. It's purely coincidental.
But by the same token, get in touch, yeah.
What a name, Barry Spanner. If that's real, fair play. Again, if we're doing 1 through 5, it's a solid 1.
Yeah.
Every number I give it's solid because I agree with it. It's not a rocky one, solid 1. Poor film.
Poor film. Okay, I think that probably wraps it up, doesn't it?
Oh, thank God for that.
There we go. So, as usual, follow us on the socials. Online at culturetrumpet.com, where you can find all of our listening links, linked to our Patreon if you're feeling generous. And you can also contact us there with any questions, just like Tristan and Barry, real people. Send us questions.
Real people.
Questions, comments, feedback, all the good stuff. Recommend us to your friends and your enemies. And wherever you're listening to the episode, there will be a share button somewhere on that screen, so please use it.
Let's go viral, like COVID. Yay! What do you reckon we talk about next week?
Oh, something brand new and cutting edge.
What, like Scream?
Yeah. Which one, the original?
Oh, I watched the first one to refresh my memory in case I see the 5th one.
Right. Okay.
But there's no guarantees I'm going to get out to see it.
No. Well, I guess it'll just have to be a surprise for the ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls.
Tune in next week to see what we find's worth talking crap about for an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I tell you what we could do. We could watch Eternals again and see if our views have changed. No, wait. Let's not waste our time.
No, let's not waste our time. Let's not really.
We could do. What's your favourite Tedism?
Yeah.
What's your favourite Tedism from Line of Duty? Tying him back into the BBC.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's for next week. Don't give it.
Okay.
Away.
All right. Okay. I'll have a think.
Anyway, thanks again to our sponsor for introducing us.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Culture Trumpet. Next time. Bye.
Bye.